Ishwaram, as resplendent sun. It's the start of a bright new day. Time to rise, time to shine, Lord divine. Time to lead us along life's way. Awake, Lord of Buddha party. Awake, O Lord, over all mankind. Awake, O Lord of compassion, that the world good fortune may find.
Now I will request Anand Subramaniam to introduce our next speaker, please.
Sairam. Our final speaker is a student studying in Puttaparthi, and he's a very special student in that he's only one of a handful of foreign students studying in Puttaparthi. He went there last year, and he's adapted so well, both socially and academically, that after the last grading period, he has been ranked number 1 in his class. We are definitely fortunate to hear him speak today, because over the course of the last year, he has spoken 2 times in front of Swami. And I think we're all very blessed to have him come up now. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Avinash Alimchandani, my best friend. And this is for you, Avi.
Om Shri Sairam, with humble and loving pranams at the lotus feet of Bhagwan, respected elders and my dear brothers and sisters. Is there anything that our Lord Sai cannot do? He materializes objects out of nowhere. He rescues devotees from any part of the world. He cures incurable diseases, and he even has brought people back from the dead. But there is a miracle he performs much, much greater than this: the transformation of the human heart. I've been a witness to this transformation, a close witness actually, for I've seen this transformation occur in my own heart. It was a little over 4 years ago that I first came to know that God has descended amongst men in the form of Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. I began to attend Balvikas at the Chicago Satya Sai Center. I had firm belief that Swami was God, but this being said, I didn't do much about it. I would go to Balvika's classes on Sundays, listen to what the teacher had to say, and by the time I walked out of the door, I couldn't remember anything. But Swami was sowing the seeds for a future that even I couldn't imagine back then. Never did I dream that I would be a student studying in Swami's school. In fact, I clearly remember once my father asking me, "Avi, would you like to study in Swami's school?" And I told him 2 words: "No way, Dad." But things change. And 3 years ago, during Guru Purnima in Prashanti Nilayam, my whole life was turned around. During that time, I had my first opportunity to receive an interview from Bhagwan. Until that time, I had never taken Swami seriously. I had never wanted to make him an important part of my life. But sitting there in front of God, something changed inside of me. I don't think words can describe it. And all of a sudden, I felt that there would be nothing greater than to study in his school. So when the opportunity arose, I asked Swami if I could study in his school. And he said, yes, come after the 10th grade. During the course of that interview, Swami made me realize just how ignorant I was. Swami's very good at that, actually. Swami asked me, "Who is your best friend?" "Zach is my best friend, Swami," I said. And by the look on Swami's face, I knew I'd given the wrong answer. Then Swami said, "No, I'm your best friend." And I said, "Yes, Swami, you're my best friend." Swami asked me many questions. He said, "Who are your friends?" And he said, "You have very bad company. When you see them, they tell you hello, but inside they're hollow." Swami gave me an insight into myself during that interview, things which I had never thought about before. And I left India knowing that eventually I would be a student in his school. When I came back home, I honestly must tell you that I didn't change that much. I basically went back to my old ways. But the seeds which he had planted a year ago had begun to grow. The next year I returned to India again. It was again during Guru Purnima time, and fortunately Swami called me for an interview again. In this interview, Swami asked me, "What do you want?" And by the expression on his face, I knew that he could give me whatever I asked for. The first thing that came to my mind was, "Swami, I want to come to your school." And Swami said, "Yes, yes, come. It's not my school, it's our school." And then Swami told me, "There is one thing. You must study very, very hard for the entrance examination." You see, every student is required to take an entrance exam to qualify himself for admission. And Swami specifically told me that you must study hard for this exam. I left Prashanthi that year knowing that it was basically in my hands whether I got admission or not. Swami had told me he would give me a seat as long as I studied for this exam. And that's exactly what I did. During that year, I studied very, very hard for the examination. And last year, in the month of April, I returned to Prashanthi Nilayam with the hopes of staying there as a student. Soon the days rolled by, and it was May 8th, the day before my examination. I needed a pair of white clothes to wear for the next day, so my cousin, who was working at Prashanthi Nilayam in the hospital, took me to his room. He gave me the clothes, and then he suggested that we go to meet a few boys he knew would be taking the same examination that I would be taking. He said that perhaps they could be of some help. I agreed, and we went to their room. They were very kind, and they showed me a model question paper of the previous year. I thanked them, and then I returned to my room. Soon morning came, and as you can imagine, I was filled with anxiety. You may ask yourself, why were you so nervous? Swami told you he would give you a place in his school. That's true. But how many times has Swami told us that human effort and divine grace are necessary? As Swami says, planting a seed is human effort. When the flower blooms, that's divine grace. Partaking food is human effort. The digestion that goes on inside is divine grace. Both are necessary. In my situation, the human effort was my preparation and performance on the entrance examination. The divine grace would be whether or not Swami granted me admission. With these thoughts racing in my mind, I reached school, the place where the examination would be held. When I saw the question paper, I could not believe my eyes. Many of the questions I had seen the night before were once again before me. And a lot of these questions I could have never answered on my own because we weren't even expected to study them. It was as if Swami was telling me, "I know that you put your all. I know that you put a lot of effort into your preparation. And that's why I took you to the room of the boys last night. As Swami tells us, take just one step towards me, and I'll take 100 towards you. Shed just one tear, and I'll wipe 100 from your eyes. There's so very little we have to do to get so much in return from our Lord Sai. We are so fortunate. Swami expects so little from us in return for the greatness he gives." After taking the entrance examination, I went to Brindavan with my parents, where I had Swami's darshan. And within a few days, I received the news I'd been waiting a life for, perhaps many lifetimes for, that I'd received admission. Obviously, I was elated. This past year that I've spent at Prashanthi Nilayam as a student has been nothing short of wonderful. In fact, when we were leaving the group photo and coming here quite quickly, it reminded me of when the college boys would run the darshan. Everything we do is centered around Swami. From the time we get up at 5 o'clock or 5:15, we immediately wash our faces, go to Gayatri Mantra chanting, have Omkar, go to Suprabhatam. After that, we have an exercise session followed by bathing and breakfast. Then we have school from 8 o'clock till 3 o'clock with a 1-hour break in between. And during our classes, even though we may be learning business studies or English, many times our teacher will just break away from the subject and start telling us a beautiful experience or asking us how we're enjoying the school and what problems we face. Many times they tell us beautiful experiences. One of my teachers, my accountancy teacher, was a student in Swami's, one of his first colleges in Bangalore in the 70s, before the college had really been established. And he told us that Swami himself used to wake up the students for Suprabhatam. He described in detail all the beautiful things Swami used to do with the students. Of course, in today's time, that's not possible because there are so many devotees in the world. Swami has to give them time as well. But taking that into consideration, Swami still tells us that 75% of his time is spent with his students. After school gets over at 3, it's time for the most exciting part of the day. That's when we go to the mandir for darshan. During darshan, Swami talks with us, he teaches us, he jokes with us, and if need to be, he scolds us too. It's a wonderful time because we students get to see a side of Swami that most others don't. It is probably something like how Krishna would be with his gopis. Very relaxed and informal, joking and laughing. It's very easy to forget that the person you're talking to is God. When you see him sweating and when you see him drop his handkerchief or forget what your name is, it's very, very easy to forget he's divine. But if you're physically in proximity to Bhagwan, you must always keep that in mind because the closer you get to him, the hotter his fire burns and the more easily you can get distracted. During darshan, many times Swami will teach us through example. I remember this year once, Swami was sweating profusely and he asked a student if he could borrow his handkerchief. Swami took the handkerchief from the student and wiped his brow. Of course, the student was very happy that Swami took his handkerchief. And then Swami turned and walked away. Then all of a sudden, Swami stopped. He looked at the student and he said, "Is this your handkerchief?" And he gave it back to him. And then Swami said, "See, I never take anything that's not mine. My life is my message." These events happen every day. Everything that Swami does teaches us. Sometimes a student will have a letter to Swami. He'll have a look of devotion on his face, and Swami will approach the boy lovingly. Swami will take the letter, and then he'll tear it in half. What does this teach us? Perhaps it teaches us that the boy is not sincere. Perhaps it teaches us that the problem the boy had wasn't really a problem. Whatever the case may be, when we see events like this day after day after day, whether we realize it or not, and maybe some students don't realize it, there is a tremendous amount of internal change going on, which can only be realized later when you look back. I know that one student had the very bad habit of smoking. This was quite a few years ago in the institution. And Swami repetitively told the student, "You must stop smoking. You must stop smoking." And finally, one day at darshan, Swami confronted him. Swami asked him, "Have you stopped smoking?" And the boy lied and said, "Yes, Swami, I've stopped." This is not a good reply when you're talking to God. And Swami said, "I know." And then Swami revealed his palm. And in Swami's palm, as if it was a movie theater, could be seen clearly the events of the previous day. That boy was clearly smoking a cigarette. Of course, that boy was shattered, but Swami didn't do it to humiliate him. Swami just did it to show his immeasurable love for the student. There have been many experiences like this. I know that a classmate of mine who's from Canada, last year, just before leaving, Swami had blessed him with a beautiful watch. But Swami clearly told him, "Remember why I'm giving you this watch. Listen and look carefully at the first letter of the word watch. Swami wants you to watch your words, W, your actions for A, and so on, thoughts, character, and heart." And Swami said, if you don't follow what I'm telling you to do, this watch is going to return to me. On the way home to Canada, his stopover was at Frankfurt Airport. And there at Frankfurt, I don't know the exact details myself, but that boy did something which he shouldn't have. After that, he went to the bathroom and was washing his hands. He took the watch off so it wouldn't get wet. When he looked back, the watch had disappeared. And that night when he returned home, Swami came in his dream. And Swami told him, "You didn't do what I told you. The watch has come back to me." When you hear experiences like this, you realize that no matter where you are, you could be anywhere, Swami's always watching you. Swami's always watching you. And Swami is the divine judge. He never makes a mistake. Sometimes Swami's ways may seem totally illogical. There may be no explanation for what and why Swami does. But how can we judge Swami? It is as if a kid who doesn't even know how to do arithmetic is trying to teach a physicist his subject. It's just not possible. I know that there was one student who was very, very intimate with Swami. In fact, for several years, he lived in the same room as Swami. But this student did not possess a good moral character. During the day, he used to smoke and drink and go out with girls. And devotees used to complain to Swami. They used to tell, "Swami, look at this boy. He's such a terrible boy. How can you keep him with you so close? In the process, your own name is going down." But Swami stayed, and he said, "No, this boy is going to stay with me." Swami said, "It doesn't matter what he does. He loves me." And the devotees said, "Swami, your name is going down." And then mysteriously, after the 3 years were over, Swami kicked this boy out and told him never to show his face again. Now the devotees were really confused. They said, "Swami, you said that this boy loved you. You said that it didn't matter that he did bad things. Why didn't you send him out of your hostel before? Why didn't you send him out of your own room before?" And then Swami silenced all the devotees with this explanation. Swami said that when he was in the form of Shirdi Sai, there was a man who housed him for 3 days. That man had reincarnated as that student. And to pay him back, Swami let him stay with him for 3 years. That's how divinely just Swami is. So we should, whatever Swami gives us in our lives, we can never complain, because whatever he gives us is what we deserve. Swami has a very unique way of improving us, a very unique way. For me, I know that he wants me to improve my faith in him. And he goes about this in very, very strange ways. One day, just before bhajan started, Swami approached me. And Swami asked me, "Is it your birthday today?" In Hindi he asked, because I can understand Hindi. He said, "Birthday hai? Birthday hai?" And so I said, "No, Swami, no, Swami." He kept asking this 8, 9, and 10 times, over and over again. And I kept saying, "No, Swami, it's not." And Swami said, and then Swami called my warden, who is a very authoritative figure. And Swami said, "Look at this boy. He's saying he doesn't have any bhakti." And I'm saying, "Swami." And it turns out that all the time I had been thinking he was saying birthday, he'd been asking me if I had bhakti. Imagine that God is asking you if you believe in him, and I'm telling you, "No, Swami, I don't believe in him." So then that night when I returned to the hostel, my warden told me, he said, "Listen, I know that Swami knows everything. He's obviously knows exactly what's going on in your mind. But it's better if tomorrow you go in front, you write a letter to Swami, and you explain to Swami that you heard him incorrectly." I was feeling very bad at the time, because when I said, "No, Swami," Swami's got very angry, and I didn't understand what it meant. And the next day I did, in fact, go in front. And so when I had the chance, I asked Swami, I said, "Swami, I'm very sorry. I thought that you said birthday. I didn't know you said bhakti." And Swami said, I know. And I also know that yesterday you met with the warden, and he told you to come now." I said, "Oh, Swami." And then Swami just smiled and patted me on the head. Little things like this, it may, for others who are watching this, they may think it's just an innocent scene. But for me, I know what Swami's trying to tell me, that I must make my devotion even stronger than it is now. Things like this happen all the time. In fact, my parents had come in January, and we were fortunate enough to get an interview from Swami. And my sister was there seated beside me. And Swami asked me, he said, "Who is this girl seated next to you?" And I said, "Swami, that's my sister." He said, "Oh, how many sisters do you have?" "Only one, Swami." "Only one? All are your sisters," Swami said. And then he said, "Look, you've been here almost a year already, and you haven't even learned any human values." Things like this Swami does so often. And of course, at the time, I feel a little bit embarrassed. But when I look back, I'm extremely thankful to Swami that he gives me the opportunities to learn these lessons directly from the source. In January of this year, as I told you, when my parents came, we were blessed with an interview. But before that, I'd been asking Swami for many days, please to call my parents, as is the custom. Whenever a student's parents come, It's expected from them that they should inform Swami, Swami, my parents have come, in the hopes that Swami will grant them an interview. So when my parents came in January, I did just that when the chance came. And Swami asked me, he said, has your mother come? I said, yes, Swami, my mother's come. Then he said, has your father come? I said, yes, Swami, my father is here. Then he asked me, is your wife here? I said, no, Swami, I don't have a wife. Then he asked me, do you have a W? Thinking that W signified wife, I said, no, Swami, I don't have W. He asked me again, you don't have W? I said, no, Swami. He said, W, you, and Swami. W. This seemingly simple play of words reveals a much greater truth. Swami is always with us, no matter where we are. Swami is a part of us. He's in our heart. As he says, if you can make your heart pure, I'll definitely live there. And it's up to us to make our heart pure. In the age we're living in now, in the time we're living in now, I don't think we've got this fortune in any of our past lives. Only because of the good merits of our past are we in this position today, to know that God is on this planet. It's an opportunity that cannot be wasted. Sometimes I feel bad that I didn't know about Swami when I was young. It's been 4 years now, but I'm thankful that I do know about Swami now. Because Swami has many times said, at the beginning of the 21st century, more and more people are going to come. Swami has said that one day he'll just be an orange dot in the distance. And when that day comes, we'll be much older and it'll be too late, almost too late to change. And because Swami says no matter who is there, my mission is going to succeed. So if we all want to be a part of the mission, it's up to us. Regardless if I'm there or you're there, it doesn't matter. Swami's mission will definitely succeed. But if we all want to be a part of it, then we have to establish the foundation right now. Especially the kids, especially the young people. Because Swami explains, this is the philosophy behind his educational system actually, that when students are young, they're very flexible, like clay. They can be molded easily. Swami says that young students are like saplings. If the sapling is harmed by wind or excessive rain, then it won't grow properly. So Swami says a fence must be built around the sapling. Similarly, when people are in their studies, they have to be sheltered from the temptations of the world. If this is done, then they can develop into morally strong individuals. That is the philosophy behind Swami's educational institutions, in the hopes that one day the young saplings will develop into strong trees, and these strong trees can serve as light posts so everyone in the world can learn how to be closer to Swami. Swami wants his students to act as yeast. What does yeast do? It elevates everything around it. That's what Swami wants his students to do. I feel so fortunate that I've had the opportunity to be there 1 year, and hopefully I'll be there for 6 more. And when I think about my fortune, I feel that I'm not doing enough back to Swami to repay him. Because the knowledge, just the knowledge that Swami is God, is something we must earn, and something we must pay Swami back for with our good actions and words and thoughts. If we all can do that, if we all can have firm devotion in Swami, if we all can have firm faith in Swami, then I'm sure then all of us will be a part of the golden age, an age of love and service, an age of happiness and joy, the golden age of Sai. Jai Sairam. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer right now. Yeah.
I've heard that not all the students who come are Swami's devotees, but they are admitted. Is this true?
Could you repeat?
Oh, I've heard that not all the students who come to Swami's college are devotees when they come, but they still may be admitted.
I would say that over 95% of the students are devotees before they enter. All of them haven't had a Balvikas training, as you can say, but almost all of the students are in fact devoted to Swami. There are a few who are not, but usually what ends up happening is that they end up developing devotion for Swami.
That was the second part of my question, really. Have you heard some of the stories about the students who were not initially devotees?
Well, I can tell you that in my class, I entered in 11th grade last year, and there was many new students who joined with me. And out of all the students, all of them were devoted to Swami. So in fact, I've never met a student who was not devoted to Swami before he joined. Are there any more questions? Yes.
The students can go and join in any class to take the entrance exam or only in particular levels?
There's only particular levels. It starts as early as the first standard or first grade. It goes the next level, I believe, I don't know much about the younger children, but I believe it's the 5th grade, then the 8th grade, 11th grade, and then the institute. Yes, sir.
One
Last question, one more. Running out of time.
After you have been accepted to the school and you had your experience, has any of your old friends who were not devotees or who were not even inclined to be, did you have any reaction or did you have any, did they approach you to, were they curious or anything like that to find out your experience, about your experience?
Regarding that issue, Swami is very strict with his students. He tells them that when they go home for the holidays, they shouldn't associate with their old friends who have bad habits. In fact, just by coincidence, I've run across a few of my old friends at different places, and I haven't gone into depth what I'm doing. I just explain to them that I'm in a school which emphasizes spirituality. But as far as possible, I don't associate with my old friends who don't believe in Swami. Okay. Thank you, Sadam.